Exactly.
So
Yeah.
welcome again, everybody, to our edition of Coffee and Connect Live with Student Life. Today, we will be featuring our colleagues and honored guests from RVCC Career Services. So I'm going to allow them to go ahead and just quickly introduce yourselves first, and then we'll get back into the program. So we're going to start with Carrie since she initiated this conversation with us. So Carrie, go ahead and just tell folks who you are, and then you guys can just go around and introduce yourselves.
Okay. And for whomever is here, I think you've already realized I'm pretty informal. And since we don't have a ton of students on right now, yeah, I am not going to be as formal just in what we're doing and what we're sharing. So it'll be a conversation. We'll certainly will present our resources and introduce all of ourselves, but it will probably be more informal in nature. So my name is Carrie Bazar, and I'm the career counselor here at the college. And my job is to help students to plan for their futures. Most students, when they come to college, whether it's your first time or your fifth time, are confused about the entire process of how do I begin? Where do I get started? How do I connect? And our entire department helps with that. And that is what we're going to be talking about today, is how we help students to go deeper. You know, once you're in to RVCC and you've finished your freshman year or your first semester and you're getting acclimated and you're on a path, but you're not sure if that's the right path, we really help you to go deeper in finding out what motivates you and what your sense of purpose is during your time at RV, both inside the classroom and out. So I'll leave it at that until we go a little bit deeper ourselves with our presentation. And welcome. Thanks for coming.
All right, who's next?
I can introduce myself, if that's easiest. My role in career services, and you're welcome to call me by my first name, is to coordinate internships and cooperative education. So that's kind of a long name for some really important things that I support students with. So I help students to kind of create their personal branding. And when we talk about personal branding, we're talking about concrete things like your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn site. We start working on things like interviewing skills, how to write professional business emails and professional business letters as well. I also help students with the search process. Where do I even start with searching? How do I search? How do I apply to different types of internships? But sometimes even before that, we just start to strategize where you are in this present place and time at RVCC and what's going to make sense to do next. Like sometimes students come in and they say, I want to do an internship in a month. And all of a sudden we start talking about their education plan. And sometimes timing is not the right timing. And we look into other things like clubs or service learning or volunteer opportunities. So I also help students strategize as they get involved and what they want to get involved in to help develop your educational and your career plan. So kind of a lot of different things. It's a mouthful, but just think about me as kind of like your career coach.
I'm the Career Services Advisor, and where Alicia works with students looking for internships and co-ops, I work with students looking for part-time and full-time jobs. I also work with alumni, so even after you graduate, our services are still available to you. And I, again, do resume critiquing, reviewing, and assistance, interviewing, LinkedIn profile, and overall your online presence. And I also maintain our job database, College Central Network. You probably get the email with the job flash weekly. If you're not looking for a job, you probably just hit delete, but we've updated it. So now there's all sorts of announcements on there. So I would definitely urge you to give it a look over, even if you're not job hunting or looking for an internship, because there's lots of good information on there. That's overall a quick synopsis of what I do.
Okay, awesome. And we have a couple more people who actually work with career services. It's the transfer portion. So I would like for you guys to just go ahead and introduce yourselves so that students know who you are as well. We'll start with Paul.
Good morning, or actually good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paul Michaud. I've met most of you, and I hope there'll be other students that'll be watching this video as well as the ones that are participating today. I do help students transfer on to four-year colleges. As you probably know, most Raritan Valley students do transfer, and they transfer all over the place. Many stay here in New Jersey, but they go to many, many colleges across the country. Try to help students with that process. This semester, we've been running virtual transfer fairs because we can't meet in person. And we plan to continue that again in the spring. And hopefully when we're all back together again, we can have the regular in-person transfer fairs where you'll have a chance to talk directly with four-year colleges. I'm always amazed at where our students are ending up. I just worked with a student last week that's going to transfer to a school in Dublin, Ireland. Another one to France. We have students going to Ivy League colleges. We've just signed our 95th transfer agreement. So there's a lot going on. So I appreciate the time today. And I believe this is a segue. Mary Ann's on the call. Mary Ann, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Mary Ann Brosnan. I work in advising and counseling officially, but work specifically with transfer students, identifying their, related to this conversation today, their career goals, so we can neatly fit their choices for transfer schools to those career goals. Because not every transfer school have a program that is likely to produce the kind of career that the student really wants to pursue. So very important to make some good decisions when making those choices. Sometimes we have a tendency to just choose what's popular or what our friends might choose or what is typical or an easy commute, when there could be a better choice for a student as they, as Carrie said, delve a little deeply and find a little bit more specifically what's a better fit for them. And most students are very concerned about scholarships and finding money, and we help students do a little bit of that. And also just preparing the best kind of application so that they are competitive for some of those Ivy League schools, whether it's writing their essays or presenting themselves in an interview or being in touch with some of the admissions folks that we have connections with so that they can make themselves the best candidate for admission to those competitive places. So I do help students in all that regard, and connecting them with my career services colleagues when they need some in-depth work when it comes to resume preparation or finding out which direction. It's not a good idea to transfer without really knowing what direction you really want to pursue. And before you transfer, good idea to connect to the career transfer persons so that you can know better how that's going to work for you. So thank you for hosting this today, Student Life. You're always very helpful in getting information out to everybody that needs it. One more thing is that there's a complicated process in transferring, and sometimes students have no clue how to begin. And we try to demystify that and make it an easy process and know that there's support here at the college. There are several steps that you have to accomplish, and we try again not to make it as complicated for you when you go do that.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. B. And before we turn it over to you guys, I just want to give an opportunity for Student Life. If Russell, if you want to just share a little bit about who you are, because we are recording this and other students may actually see it who may or may not know us. So Russell, go ahead and just share who you are and what we do.
So I don't want to talk too much about us or myself, but encourage students to get involved. Liam, you are a great example of a student that gets involved and makes the most of the experience. Liam is the president of Phi Theta Kappa. Talk to him if you are eligible and go in that direction. There are a lot of scholarships available. And he's also the president of the film club, and he does so much more. But anyway, these are wonderful people. Ask them lots of questions, make notes on the side, and thank you for being here. So back to the presenting team.
All right, so again, we are recording this. So I'm going to ask if you're not speaking to mute yourself so that we don't get background noise. And Marie, she's our administrative assistant. She's in charge of our student engagement transcript. So you'll learn a little bit more about that as you get involved in your co-curricular and leadership experiences on campus. So now, Carrie, we're going to turn it back over to you and give you the floor. Thank you.
Sure, let's get started. Well, let me just put in a plug for Liam as well. So Liam is not only the president of PTK and the film club, he is also our student worker. So he is another student, another member of our team that is here today and can share his student voice from both sides. So just wanted to say that. So what I would like to do first is launch a poll. Okay, so you should see our first poll on the screen. Good. Okay. So the question is, what is the most important factor to consider in finding career satisfaction? And our options as far as responses are, which careers are hot right now, my interests and skills, my beliefs and principles about what's important, my major, my personality traits, and the pressures and opinions from people in my life. Okay, so 100% people have voted. I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results. So as you're viewing the results, what we're seeing is that 0% said which careers are hot right now. And I'm going to speak to each of these. 40% said my interests and skills. 80% said my beliefs and principles about what's important. 40% said my major. 40% said my personality traits, and 0% said the pressures from people in my life. It's kind of a trick question. Many of these factors are important when you are thinking about your career decision-making process, and it is an individual decision-making process. So each individual has unique factors that they consider as they are planning for their future career and educational paths. Some people, when you think about who and what is influencing your life, you have to think about the who's and the what's in your life that are impacting your decision-making process. So in career counseling and career support, when I work with students, we talk about the who's and the what's, right? Because we want to make sure that your career planning process is something that is self-motivated and not other motivated. Because if you are here because of someone else's goals, the likelihood that you will persist with your goal and stick it out and enjoy your time and be satisfied with your decision is much slimmer if it's not something that you own. So what we do together is we identify your interests, your skills, your beliefs and principles about what's important. Those are your values, your personality traits. We look at all of those pieces of the self puzzle and we see how do they interconnect, and we learn more about you before we make a commitment or a decision about the what you're going to be doing. You have to understand the why. So knowing your why always comes before your what. And your why is what's long-term, right? What is those themes and threads that have been with you that you take from your past and those skills and motivations that you want to continue with moving forward. So that's a conversation that we typically have in career counseling. And I'll show everybody our Connecting College to Career model as well. Okay, which careers are hot right now? Well, I just want to say something about that. So students choose careers for all reasons, right? All sorts of reasons. What's hot right now may not be what's hot for you. So we need to find out what's hot for you, okay? Because what's hot right now can change. And there are lots of things you need to consider when you're choosing a career, such as the demand, right? The growth of an occupational area, okay? But that's a tool. And so that tool doesn't take into account things like unpredictable factors that occur, like a pandemic, like 9/11, things that we can't predict. So all the students always say, oh, I'm just going to go with, where the jobs are right now. Well, also when you're in college, where the jobs are right now could change as far as where the jobs are 10 years from now. So again, it's important to have all the resources and all those pieces of the puzzle together as you are planning. And most students need some coaching along the way with that. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing the results. And what I would like to do is to just show you the Career Services website. Okay, so for those of you who don't know how to get to us, we are located in the Commons like everybody else. And if you go under students, you will find us. Okay, on our main page, we have a very fun video that's an overview of what we do. Another plug for Liam, that was co-created by Liam as a film student. He had gained career-related experience in our department. So you don't have to have a job off campus. You don't have to be paid even to get these career-related experiences and build career readiness and success skills. You can do that in many different ways, which Alaysha will speak to. I just wanted to show you some of our resources here. We have a newsletter that is for students, and I'm not going to go through every single resource. We do have drop-in hours Monday through Thursday on Zoom. Our password is career, and our drop-in link is on our Commons website. I will chat the website to you so that you have it for those of you who don't. Okay, it's going to go to everybody in the meeting, and this is our website. And for those of you who want to copy and paste it or take a picture or what have you, you have it now and you know where to find us. This is our flyer that shows you all of our virtual career support that we provide. And it tells you who to contact for appointments and what we help our students with. So for career planning and support, that will be me. And I'm going to show you our model and what I do with students, as well as career exploration And then Wendy and Alicia will cover internships, job search assistance and preparation, and career readiness, skill building. Okay, so there's lots of good information here. We always say to students who don't necessarily see it, don't forget the sidebar. This is our sidebar, okay? So don't forget to look over to your left. Many students want to start with, where do I begin? So this is our Connecting College to Career model. And so this is essentially what we use and how we help students to connect the pieces together. Okay, so essentially, if you remember 4 things, I need to discover who I am. I need to develop my vision, where I'm going. So who I am, where I'm going. I need to design my path. How do I get there? And I need to deliver my talents. How can I shine? What's unique about me? Discover, develop, design, deliver. Okay, so when you're discovering yourself, again, you are understanding those skills and strengths that you have. You're understanding those motivations, the why. And that's where I help students over here with learning about yourself by assessing, helping you to assess and uncover your work-related interests, because we have all sorts of interests, right? Not every interest that I have or every search I do on YouTube is meant to turn into a full-fledged career. So sometimes students have difficulty identifying among my many interests, right? So we help you to identify those work-related interests, your strengths, your talents. What talents do you want to apply going forward? Again, what motivates you towards your goals? So no matter what happens, what challenges life brings you along the way while you're in college, how are you going to keep going? How do you keep your eye on the prize? Okay. We also help you identify skills and come up with a personalized career action plan for while you are at RVCC. What can I do to help me to connect college to career? Okay. And some of the things you want to ask yourself just informally, without having to take a career assessment even, when you're looking at what impact do you want to have on the world? When you think about what topics and ideas spark your curiosity, what do you geek over? Okay, those are important things to ask. What do you have to offer others? How do you like to spend your time? Who has influenced your career options? What career paths can you cross off your list? Often it's easier to say what I don't want than what I do. So you look at that long list of RVCC majors and programs of study, cross off initially the ones you don't like. That's an excellent first step, and you're already making a decision just by doing that. And it makes it feel a little less overwhelming. So I wanted to just show you a few things over here on our site. So under the Learn About Yourself tab, of course, we have videos because videos are awesome, and podcasts. We have some career assessments. Focus is located inside the Lion's Den. And Focus is a career planning tool that helps you to learn more about yourself, those interests, those personality traits, those work-related values, and it brings up some majors and some careers that might be a good match for you. No self-assessment, no tool is a prescription for your life, but it is a helpful place to start for some students, and then you go over it with me in a career counseling meeting. I'm going to move over to this side so that we can move on to everybody else, and I'm not monopolizing the session here. Once you've identified some options that may be a good fit for you, you want to explore those options. How do I connect major to career? That's one of the biggest questions that is asked by college students nationwide, is what can I do with a major in such and such? So we do have resources for students around this, but I want you to also to be careful into feeling that you are locked in when you choose a major. I want you to challenge yourself to be more than your major. You should major in meaning at RVCC and in college, something that is meaningful to you and something that is going to motivate you, propel you for the long term. Okay, so again, if you could connect the dots between who you are and what you believe, that will help determine where you're going. Choosing a major is actually different than choosing a career. And when you're choosing a major, you want to be able to take that deep dive into that subject area. Not, I took one chemistry course and now I want to major in chemistry, right? Because when you choose a major, you're taking a deep dive into the subject area. It's also important for you to know, and I'm going to give you an example, and then I'm going to ask one of our students to throw something out here. Let's say I chose English as my example, okay? And here's some common areas people might think an English major might pursue: writing. Oh, technical communication. What's that? Publishing, education, advertising. Wow, I didn't know that I could take an English major and go into the business world. What? I'm scratching my head, but I have a headset on. You can't see that. So it's important that, again, you understand that you are more than your major, okay? That what you do with your major, it's that why. It's not necessarily the major itself. So I just wanted everybody to see what some of our resources are as far as understanding yourself, as far as exploring options. We also have New Jersey industry trends, so state trends as far as occupational areas, specific information about careers. And again, Candid Career, which is career videos that can give you insider information of people who are in the field. Okay, at this point, what I want to do is to go back to our model and to ask if anybody has any questions related to what I've covered so far, learning about yourself and exploring options.
So how you form your individual interests, you discuss that with the students and then you take it further and helps them develop their career.
Yes, so we look at all of these pieces of the puzzle here. People are not one-dimensional, right? We have to look at your interests, we have to look at your strengths, we have to look at your skills and your values. What's the legacy you want to leave behind, right? What do you want to be remembered for? Again, what impact do you want to have on the world? So looking at your interests and what kind of life do you want to lead even? What kind of future life do you envision for yourself? So all of that sounds really broad and fuzzy right now. And as Alicia was saying before, and even Marianne, we help students to kind of get better focused in that regard. You don't have to come in having any questions. You could just come in, or in this case, virtually, come to a Zoom with any one of us and just say, help. I don't know where to begin. I don't know what career I want. I don't even know what my interests are. What are my skills and how do I find them? That's where we come in. That's our job, is to help you to uncover all of that. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay. So I'm going to mute, and Alicia, I think you want me to leave the model up or you want me to take it down?
Yeah, if you could stop sharing, I'll pull up the poll. This one reads, and I'll read it slowly since we're recording as well. Which of these skills do you think are most important for success in a job or internship? Critical thinking and problem solving, oral and written communication, teamwork and collaboration, technology, leadership, professional and work ethic, career management, and lastly, global and intercultural fluency. So which of these skills do you think are most important for success in a job or internship? Like Carrie had said earlier, it's a little bit of a trick question, but it will get conversation flowing based on these topics and these talking points. It looks like the biggest scoring one, 100%, is critical thinking and problem solving. And then we kind of move down almost in order with oral and written and teamwork coming in a tie for second. And then the rest of them, technology, leadership, professionalism, career management, and intercultural fluency kind of following. What I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share and I'm going to show you another image of this. That's a different type of visual. So this is your polling question that you just have. And this is a nice visual to try to understand part of what we do is help you develop all of these. In actuality, not one is more important than the other. It's really starting to understand these different aspects, these 8 aspects of getting career ready and how do you build them. So what I really wanted to talk about in my time with you was the how do you build them. And I think what happens sometimes when you're looking at these career readiness competencies and a student comes into my office for the first time, the only thing on the student's mind at first is, how do I get an internship? You know, that's what I need to get skills. That's what I need to get experience. And what I often tell students is that it's not necessarily a linear experience. We're not going to do A plus B equals C. Ta-da, perfect internship arrives. You know, look at the model that Carrie just showed you is circular for a reason. I always liken it to the bicycle wheel or a pizza pie, and there's different spikes or different slices of the pie. So when you come in my office, you might be thinking, how do I get this internship? How do I get an accounting internship? How do I get an engineering internship? My dream is to work for Boeing. How do I get an internship at Boeing? And I'm thinking about the different spokes and what we need to do to help you develop those different spokes. And one way to look at those spokes or those pieces of the pie is looking at these 8 competencies. And we might talk about, where is your comfort level with your oral and written communication? What are some ways you can build oral and written communication? And I might ask you and challenge you and say, well, how do you respond in the classroom? Are you taking risks and asking questions? Are you introducing yourself to your professor? Are you going to your professor during office hours? I often love that t-shirt where there's a circle and it says comfort zone, and there's an arrow that points out of the circle, and then it says where growth happens. So part of what happens that students sometimes chuckle when they're with me is, I thought I was just coming in here for a resume to get my dream internship. And all of a sudden we're strategizing how to build all these essential competencies. And so maybe we're talking about teamwork or collaboration. And I'm sure, Liam, you could speak to the amount of collaboration and teamwork that goes on by being a part of a club, by taking on a leadership role in a club. And yes, that's an amazing experience for your resume. And it's also an amazing experience to build some of these competencies that you're seeing before you. So take these 8 squares and make a ladder out of them, make a stepping stool out of them. And at the base of that ladder is your reality. And at the top of that ladder is your dream job. What do you hope to become, right? And then our job, like Carrie had said, is to help you link that. And there's maybe the first step is doing the discovery work with Carrie and really trying to figure that out. And maybe the next step is starting to look at these competencies and joining a club. Maybe another part is you decide to start to build some professional and work ethic by getting involved in a service learning. If you're like, I've never even heard of a service learning. So a lot of times I'll just connect you with our director of service learning, Lori Moog, and she has hundreds of community partners that allows students to come in and not only become active members of the community, but do what we call micro internships or mini internships. And that's a chance for you to try on something of interest. So you could be volunteering as an engineer in a municipal local government, shadowing a civil engineer. And you're doing it maybe 3 or 4 hours a week. Service learning is always non-paid. So it's a nice chance to kind of dip your toes in a professional environment and see if you like it. And the wonderful thing is sometimes students will come back in my office and we always debrief on every experience. And part of the way we debrief is to talk about it. My office is a casual place as well as my virtual office. And we'll just have a conversation as to how it went. But we'll also debrief it by putting it on your resume and putting it into resume language. So that's how you build your resume. And to see what you've learned there. And sometimes students decide they don't want to be that type of engineer. So just like you cross off majors you don't like, sometimes you try mini internships or micro internships or volunteer experiences to figure out what it is you don't like as well as what it is you like. And so let's say you're thinking about, oh, how do I get more involved in digital technology, for example, right? I'm not very good at Excel. And I must tell you that whatever profession you're going into, digital technology is essential. It's an essential career readiness competency. And I'm going to put it up when Wendy's talking, I'll put it up in the chat room, but I have a link to a wonderful site that lists all the different links to free online classes. And one thing that's happened lately, especially with COVID as the backdrop, is students, you may not have a part-time job right now. You may have lost your part-time job. We don't have as many internships up on our job board that we usually have. But there's ways to not just crack that window, there's ways to open that window wide open and think out of the box. One way is taking a free online class. maybe over winter break, maybe over the summer. I had a student that got a free certificate in business analytics this last summer. He lost his internship with COVID. He called me up and he said, what do we do? You know, what can I do? I've got no experience now. This was my experience. And I said, well, and let's strategize that. And we have a wonderful resource sheet that we put together that lists a lot of different links for virtual internships. And yes, they are out there for sure. But what he opted to do was to do a free online certificate in business analytics and build his skills. So when you look at digital technology as one of the career readiness competencies, I would say, where are you with your proficiencies and how can you build it? Maybe what you might do is think about partnering with a professor and asking to do an independent research study. Or maybe it'll be a project in class where you choose to do Excel with that project so you get better at Excel. So one of the things that's happening in our office, in our time together, is not just, yes, a lot of times we'll start with a resume, and no, I do not expect you to have a perfect resume when you walk in my office. As a career coach, we start wherever you are. And sometimes it's just strategizing for the semester, strategizing for the 4 semesters. Sometimes it's diving right into your resume. Sometimes it's building your LinkedIn. Sometimes it's having conversations like this that talk about how can I get involved and get experience. And if it's not service learning, and if it's not clubs, if it's not a research project with a professor, maybe it's a job shadow. Maybe it's an informational interview, and that could be building your career management and your leadership and your critical thinking. And if you're saying, well, how do I even start with a job shadow, or what is an informational interview? That's conversations that we have together during our session. And we give a lot of resources and coaching and direction on how to start that process. And a lot of students lately that I've worked with, especially last summer, a number of them started to reach out to family, friends, and professors and start to look at ways to job shadow. And that's spending a day with someone, a week with someone, a few hours with someone, and shadowing what they do. And then asking informational interview questions or interviewing them about their profession. And it's a chance to learn. So this is another way you can build career management and critical thinking and leadership skills, because you're taking the driver's seat in your career. And that's part of what we try to do in our office, is really empower you to feel confident and motivated to take those steps where you start to own your educational journey and your career journey. And it is a journey, whether you are 18 or 80, it's a journey of learning. And it shifts and turns and twists depending on the experiences that come into your life. Oftentimes I get questions about global intercultural fluency and what that is and what that means. And what I often say is that we live in a beautifully diverse, multicultural world. And it's really important to understand how to communicate to different cultures, to embrace all different ways of interacting with people, to respect and honor people's belief systems, and to be really mindful and purposeful about that. And if it's something you've never explored before, there's certainly wonderful events and activities that Student Life has that allows you to become more involved in multicultural and diversity initiatives. And I would definitely encourage you to explore and get outside of your comfort zone, because it's a beautiful thing when you can learn about another culture, another way of life, another thoughts, beliefs, and such. So that's kind of a snapshot of all 8. Does anybody have any questions about any of the 8 competencies that they're looking at? I don't see anything in the chat room either. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to share one more thing.
Alaysha, I also just wanted to add that a lot of these skills you're talking about also are being built in the classroom. So that we have global and cultural awareness courses that are built into most, if not all, of our degree programs. Sometimes a faculty member may not explicitly make the connection and help you to connect the dots between college and career readiness skills. But be very sure, be very certain that when you look at your syllabus that the teacher gives, that summarizes the classes, the assignments, look specifically at those learning outcomes that are on their syllabus, because those learning outcomes are often career readiness skills. And you just may not be thinking that you are building them inside an English class, a history class, but in fact, you are.
Thanks, Carrie. Very important point. So there's always different touch points at the campus that you can get exposure in all of those 8 tiles that you saw for the career competencies. So I challenge all of you to start to think about those 8 career competencies and how you could start to stretch your capacity, stretch your ability, get outside your comfort zone, and build those essential skills for your resume. I wanted to end with this visual before I pass it on to my colleague, Wendy. And it's a great visual I came across about ideas, especially why we're living with this backdrop of this new normal. And I liked the ideas that came up as students are starting to explore different ways to grow and expand their understanding of what their interests are, how education fits into their career plan, how they connect college to career. So just, I guess I'll say them out loud only because this is being recorded. Leverage your campus and community resources. Super important to know what's out there. Carrie showed you our website, loaded with resources. Our entire college's website is loaded with resources. Take a course. I referenced that free course link that I'll put up when Wendy's talking. Master or learn a new skill. You know, sometimes when Carrie says that skills are part of how you make education and career choices, sometimes it's a skill you don't have that you want to get. It doesn't mean you have to have that skill to go into that. So maybe you want to learn this skill during this time. Micro internships I touched on with service learning, with job shadowing, with informational interviewing. Consider freelancing. I mean, Liam is a great example of somebody who's doing all these different types of projects that are building his skill sets. Explore a hobby. Sometimes hobbies can be very complementary to your life work, and you can have those aha moments while enjoying yourself in a hobby. Immerse yourselves in some books or podcasts that you've never been exposed to before. Volunteer, that's service learning. Start thinking about life beyond your bachelor's degree. Imagine yourself with that cap and gown. And where are you going next? Could it be graduate school? What is graduate school? Maybe you want to learn about it. Community projects. Maybe you want to create a business plan of something you've always wanted to do and work with a professor on that. Engage in online stuff. I will also send a link to our online virtual resources we put together in our office. Refine your marketing materials. A lot of students are doing that right now with Wendy and I, really diving into their branding, to their online presence. Start getting yourself prepared for a leadership role. Really nurture those relationships. And at the end of the day, please make sure you take care of yourself. The most important thing is self-care. This is a time that can be very stressful. Learning virtually is a different modality and it's not for everyone. We have wonderful resources at the college to support you. All of us are here to support you. So 15 might be the last, but it's one of the most important to rest, reflect, and rejuvenate. So I am going to end here and I'm going to mute and let Wendy take the floor.
Okay, then I'll get started. I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, so I will be brief, but cover the section. And I'll start by launching a poll. This one says, what is a resume? So everything I've done in the last 5 years, a document of my work experience, a way to get a job, a template that organizes my skills and experiences, or a place to include references and a cover letter. A document of my work experience, a way to get a job, and a template that organizes my skills and experience. Got the most with everything I've done in the last 5 years and a place to include references and a cover letter. So to bring back up on the screen that model once again, where I come in is probably likely to be after you've seen Carrie and Alicia, because now you're making a plan and taking action. Things like resume, cover letter, online presence, and LinkedIn. If you're looking for internships, you may have done that with Alicia, but when it comes to looking for jobs, chances are you haven't done that yet, and that's where I'll start with you. So talking about a resume, that's a lot of what I do. So we've reviewed hundreds and hundreds of resumes, and it's not always clear what a resume is, which is why I put that as the poll question. So I like to think of a resume as an outline of the professional you. It's an outline. It's not everything you've ever done in your life. I have students that come in and have their elementary school activities in there. It's not that. It's things that relate to what you want to do in your future as a career, as a job, or as an internship. It's an outline of the professional you, not the personal you. So everything should be professional and related to your goal in getting that job or internship. It's really a marketing piece. It's different than an application. An application is actually a legal document, but your resume is more like an advertisement. You're advertising a product, and the product is you. So in the long run, we'll probably get you a job, but its purpose is not to get you the job. The interview is what's going to get you the job. The resume is what hopefully will get you the interview. So it's just to get your foot in the door, to get you in front of these people, and how you are in the interview and how they think you might be a good fit for the culture and a good fit for the company. That your give and take in the interview is likely what's going to get you the job. But the resume gets you a start there. And most importantly, everyone's resume is different. So I know a lot of people like the templates, but we really discourage you from using a template for a couple of reasons. One, likely when you come to Alicia or to me, there'll be some editing. I may want to change things around, and I may do it even before I ask you to come in or meet with me on Zoom. I might get started and just say, oh, this might look better up here, or this might look better over here. And if done in a template, I can't move it around. So it's hard to edit physically. And then the more importantly is templates are made for everyone. I mean, you just plug your information into this pre-written outline, and everyone's resume should be different. Your background is going to be different than the next person's background. So you really want to customize your resume. You might have different sections than the next person. You might have a different order, even if you had the same sections. Maybe what's most related to your goal, you may have the same information, but it may not be as related to someone else's goal. So it's going to be very custom just for you. Even if you think your resume is wonderful and you have a resume, I would encourage you to come into our office, or at this point, not come in, at this point, send us your resume, email you. I usually ask you to email the resume as a straight word attachment, as an attachment, and then I review it ahead of time, and then I'll email you and we'll make an appointment to get together over Zoom and review it. Zoom actually makes it really easy because we can share the document and you can see, you can edit it, and we can talk back and forth, and actually virtually works quite well for resume review. We discuss cover letters at the same time, and we talk about references, and I don't think anyone picked that references should go on a resume. We do talk about the fact that you'll need references. So, who do you ask? How many do you need? And they won't go on the resume. Used to be that everyone put references available upon request. You no longer do that because employers look at resumes for a very, very quick time, sometimes 30 seconds. And so each word on that resume is valuable real estate, every line. So it's silly to waste a line with something everyone has, references available upon request. It's just a given that they're available. But you do want to have a separate sheet of paper that has the references on there, the names of the people that you're going to use as references. So questions on the resume?
Paul asked, can you comment on how some companies are using artificial intelligence technologies to pre-screen resumes?
Sure. Thanks, Paul. That's important. A lot of companies are using automated applicant tracking systems where they'll put in keywords, type in some keywords that they want the person to have. For example, if they want Excel or accounting or something, and then the artificial intelligence computers pull up all the resumes that meet the criteria that was put in there. So in your resume, it's important that you have what that intelligence is going to find. So keywords are really important. Words, and you can find those even just looking in the job description, making sure if it says you need a certain skill, as long as you have that skill, make sure that's on your resume. There's certain things that you don't want to do in your resume because it's possible that the applicant tracking system may not be able to read them. Like, you don't want to put anything in a header or a footer or use tables of any kind in that. There used to be a lot more that you didn't want to do, but now the systems are pretty sophisticated. So they can read even fancy bullets or bold, they can do all that. But I've still heard no headers, footers, or tables in resumes. especially, I mean, some of the design majors are making fancy resumes, is probably a good idea. Either you can even ask, you know, if they have a system, how it reads it, and then you could submit more of a plain resume followed up by your fancy graphic resume, or bring the graphic resume to the interview or something like that. But if you know it's going to be read by an ATS, it probably will not pick up a lot of the things on a beautiful graphic resume. And I also wanted to talk about LinkedIn. Or I'll make this really quickly. I don't know, thumbs up or down, who has a LinkedIn profile or LinkedIn presence? Okay. Somebody has half of one. So, okay. Yeah, I would definitely encourage you to have a LinkedIn presence. Employers and four-year schools are checking that. They want to find out as much as they can about you. And for some reason, they think if you don't have an online presence, you're trying to hide something. So LinkedIn is like Facebook for professionals. So it's a good, safe place to be have an online presence. It's a lot better than them checking Facebook, which I don't think they do so much anymore. There was a while they did. But now LinkedIn is kind of like your resume, but it's a lot more dynamic. So if you have special projects, or if you have an article written about you, you can link to that or upload something. So it really makes your resume comes alive rather than just your resume. But also the employer does want to see your presence on there. So, do I have time to show the job board?
Students in the room, how's your time?
Do you have
Stay
I mean, I might
It's
have to go
fine.
soon.
I can stay.
about 5 to 10 minutes?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'll
can
be
stay.
fine.
Okay, perfect.
it'll be-
Go ahead, Wendy.
It'll be less than that. I just want to point out.
While Wendy is pulling up the job board, I also want to say that remember that an education resume is a little different than an internship or job resume. And usually around holiday break, Wendy and I get very busy with transfer resumes. They're different because you can expand. They can be what's called CVs, curriculum vitae. They can be a little bit longer that really expand on your education that you send with your college application.
Okay. Okay, you can see this. The website is collegecentral.com/Raritan Val. And this is what that weekly job flash is. It's area employers that are posting jobs specifically to Raritan Valley. So they're looking for you, which is a nice place to start your job search. And we put internships on here as well. So what you're going to do after you create an account, well, to create your account, you follow the directions in the email or these directions. And then once your account's created, you will sign in and click Search My School's Jobs. And I like to do advanced search because I like to search by job target. So for example, let's do business. There's a lot of companies say any major, but we assign them a job target. And you can filter it by full-time internships, but we'll look at everything. And then, so this shows there are 14 jobs with a job target of business and internships. And then to find out more about it, you would click on the job title and it tells you everything. Usually, we like when they tell the salary, but they don't usually, but they do tell you how to apply. So it gives the contact information, and you would apply directly to the company. Okay, I just wanted to show that quickly so you would see where it is. It's easiest to go directly, so I can put that in the chat as well. College, www.collegecentral.com/Raritan Val. And so questions on the job board? Okay, nope. And the last thing I wanted to say was we do have social media groups. And so to connect with us through a variety of methods. I know if you're in clubs, you're probably on RV Connect. But if you're not, I would urge you to sign up on RV Connect. We post on there. You can follow Transfer and Career Services. But even if you're not interested in Transfer and Career Services, it's a great place to buy and sell books. So I know that's of interest to most students. So definitely be on RV Connect. And we also have an RVCC Career Services group on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, in addition to RV Connect. So I would urge you to connect with us. And I think that's it for the presentation. Anything anyone want to add?
Anybody in the group have questions for the team?
I just want to add one thing is that all of the things that were discussed here today by Wendy, Carrie, and Alicia are things that help prepare you for your transfer, right? So when you hit the ground running at Rutgers Business School and they have a gigantic career fair in September of your junior year, when you get there, you'll have your resume, you will have had some experience, you will understand the language of your fine self in determining what your direction is, and you can be prepared by the things that you do at Round Valley for when you get to that transfer school. And I promise you, you will not find a better team than the one we have at RV, give you the kind of attention that will really help you develop and design the path for your future, truly. Because when you get to that large school, you will not have the kind of attention that you get here at RVCC. So avail yourselves of the fine services of everyone here today, here to help you, and make sure that you go prepared to your next four-year school.
Thank you, Marianne.
I just wanted to just end too, and obviously thank everybody for coming, and hope that you got a bunch of resources and contacts for how you can bridge college to career so that it gets a little bit closer, at least in your mind. And if it doesn't, you certainly know where to go so that it certainly will get clearer. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. On behalf of Student Life, we would like to thank our RVCC Career Services and Transfer Services colleagues for joining us today. Students, we thank you as well. We thank you for your engagement and your leadership, and the prospect of getting engaged and being a leader for Avia, because I know he's a new student. So again, thank you all for coming. And before we go, I just want to direct your attention to our chat. There's a ton of great resources and links in there. So you can do one or two things. You could either copy the chat and paste it into a Word document, or you could click on the three dots to the bottom right of your chat once you open it, and you can say save chat and just save it to your computer. So at least you'll be able to go back to those resources. And for those of you that will be listening to this after the fact, we will post the links in our social media platforms. And with that, we are going to close, and you'll see this posted shortly on, we have Facebook, Instagram, RV Connect, and YouTube. So we will be posting in all of those platforms.
Oh, we have a YouTube also. I forgot all about that. We have a new YouTube channel. So
yeah,
we have that as well.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Okay,
Thanks,
awesome.
Thanks, Liam. I went to go share screen and then I didn't.
All right.
All right.
So if you just take a look at the chat, you'll see that there's a ton of contact information as well for both the folks that was either mentioned, like Lori Moog's office for service learning, and then Marie put in Student Life contacts, so Russell, myself, and her. And then also there's information about the student engagement transcript. And I think Alicia, I believe you put in the links to the free website for the courses, for the website for the free courses. So that's there. So a ton of great information, guys. And thank you so much, Liam, for adding the YouTube link for career services. So with that, we are going to close out this session of Coffee and Connect. Thank you all so much.